Let's talk about some news stories that I thought were interesting. So there's a report, I'm not sure who made it, Center for Digital Democracy, whatever that is, but they sent to the Federal Trade Commission pointing out that connected TVs are a privacy nightmare. I've heard various reports like this down through the years, but these streaming TVs spy on you. They target viewers in newfound ways, they say. I wonder if I can see a simple explanation of what these new ways are. Misleading privacy policies, using generative AI, I'm not sure about that. Machine learning for dynamic product placement. Well, okay, it's kind of unclear to me exactly how this is spying on you, but I'm not surprised. And everything is pretty much spying on you, and that's usually legal in America, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're recording what you watch. I don't know what they can do besides record what you watch. But anyway, so quantum computing. I've been teaching about it for years, and we've been talking about it for years, but the thing I am always at pains to remind people is it doesn't work. It doesn't accomplish anything yet. It's, as far as last report I heard, as far as cracking cryptography, the biggest thing ever done by quantum computers so far is they proved that 35 is 5 times 7. So they're a long way from cracking a 2048-bit RSA key. And apparently, the investors have finally run out of patience. Now, everybody is currently throwing tons of money into AI. Every AI company is running at a huge loss, but they continue to get tons of funding going into them because everybody's convinced that pretty soon they'll have an actual product to sell that will make money. But they seem to have lost patience with quantum computing. D-Wave and Rigetti are companies that make quantum computing devices, and their stock is turning into penny stock, junk stock. It's not surprising. I'm not sure it was the right time to have startups taking investor money yet. I think it's probably something to be done in like academic research labs for another 10 or 20 years until they actually get something working that's closer to being of some value in the marketplace. So Elon Musk received a request to see Trump's DMs and not tell Trump. And apparently this is a common thing. I wasn't aware this happened except in the context of national security letters, but he claims they get thousands of these every year. The question, if you did your presentation, it should be reflected within your grades. We just haven't recorded it yet. I've got it. So don't worry about it for another week. You don't have to send anything. I recorded everybody did their presentation, and it will be in the grade book soon. I think my grader's fallen a bit behind recording it is all. Anyway, so Elon Musk wanted to tell President Trump or refused to do this, and he took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has declined to review his appeal, saying his argument didn't make any sense. So this would appear to mean that the government will be more successful at seizing data from social media companies and compelling those social media companies not to tell the customer that this has happened. And of course, I don't think we have any way to know how often that happens now, but apparently it will happen more often. So I didn't know this. Under the Stored Communications Act, the computer can request data and apply for a non-disclosure order, gagging the communication provider. So it's not just national security letters. Apparently they can do this a lot. And I imagine they'll be doing it a lot more. So the M4 Mac should be coming. What I'm using right here is an M1 Mac, and I think it's great. It's so good, I haven't been in any hurry to upgrade it, but apparently the M4s are coming November 1, which will be even better. So I got some students with M2s. A thing to know if you are a Mac enthusiast or you want to have the latest one. One thing to be aware of course, is if you get any of the M Macs, they do not have Intel processors, and so there are some things that won't run on them, although by now there's an awful lot of important apps seem to have been ported over. The one exception that matters to me is Windows Server. There is currently no Windows Server version that runs on ARM. Microsoft is developing one, and there's an early beta version out, but it's very, very limited and essentially useless right now, so that's the only thing I really want that I can't run on my Mac. So the cops are using facial recognition, and they are concealing this from the courts when they use the evidence. which is probably a violation of the Brady Bill, which requires you to disclose potentially exculpatory information. And as all previous articles I've seen about facial recognition, it has the same flaw it always has, which is it cannot recognize black faces. There are 7 cases of false identity, 6 of them black, and the police have taken to not admitting that they used AI, presumably because the defense will correctly say that, it says I'm offline. No, I'm not. Okay, just this thing. Anyway, will correctly say that you can't trust that AI, and it doesn't prove that my client is guilty as much as you think it does, which is probably true. So we'll see what comes of this. It's good that this practice is coming to light, so it can be examined by privacy advocates and lawyers and perhaps amended. So Google Play. A U.S. judge has ordered Google to stop making Google Play the only app store included in Android, which is an interesting statement. Now, there are other Android app stores, like the Amazon one, but apparently Google has been paying developers to launch their apps exclusively on Google Play, so to make sure that the other stores don't have good apps, and they're being ordered not to do that. So I guess that makes sense. That's sort of a form of monopoly abuse. This is like what Microsoft used to do in the bad old days before the antitrust ruling, which I think was 98 or so. They used to tell stores that if you sell any boxes that are any computers that are not running Windows, we will boycott you completely. You can never sell any Windows software at all, which will destroy your business. It's a similar kind of abuse of monopoly power sounding like here. So sounds like a wise decision, but Google is going to appeal it. So we'll see. ADT is a security company, physical security, I think, burglar alarms and things like that. And they have been hacked twice recently and lost their data. So it would seem like this might be bad for the company. Perhaps the reputation hit will harm them. And the way they got in was by stolen credentials. And this, I think, is a real problem. You can have all the patches and antivirus software and everything else, but if you can just steal legitimate credentials, which is extremely easy to do, then people can sail in impersonating your employees unless you implement something like zero trust, or you only let employees in from known locations or something like that, which is the kind of thing I think you can do with Zscaler, and I think this is where we're all going to have to go. Even someone coming in with the correct name and password, that should not be enough to justify giving them access to your systems without a further test to make sure it really is your employee. That's probably where we're all going to have to go, because stolen credentials are sold on the black market all over the place, and you can usually get them by phishing. All they have to do is trick somebody into clicking on a phishing link, and somebody will do that. Then they open a page that looks like the real login page. They type in the credentials, and now you've got it. So if you didn't have two-factor authentication, which is probably the simplest way to verify that you know who that person is, where they have something else like a one-time password app on their phone, then you're going to be vulnerable to this. So I guess these guys should upgrade to two-factor like everybody else. NVIDIA is the source of the main GPUs. They're an incredibly wealthy company. Everybody wants vast amounts of NVIDIA GPUs for AI. But Inflection is one of the AI companies, and they're going to switch to Intel's AI processor, which is pretty surprising because Intel has made major mistakes, and Intel is even collapsing to where they're likely to get bought out by Qualcomm or somebody very soon. But apparently they have something called a Gaudi 3 accelerator, although I think you can't buy it yet, but you can rent it in the cloud. So anyway, we'll see what comes of this. Intel does have some competing AI chip. We'll see if it's actually respected in the marketplace. And Intel also has monstrous computers, 128 core and 144 core and 192 core. And anyway, this opinion article, he says, I really wouldn't get one of these because that's far too much service to provide from one single piece of hardware. If it fails, you're going to lose too much. He said it would be wiser to have more smaller servers so that you can have more redundancy and more ability to withstand when they go down. Yes, I said, a comment there says Intel has not done much in the past 10 years. Yeah, Intel has fallen. They used to be mighty, but now they're pretty much collapsing, and they're expected to be bought out by somebody soon. They seem to have made major flops. All right, well, I think that's it for the news. Let me stop this.